December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
I remember that. You know, back in them days, see, my dad passed away when I was 12. So you didn't have telephone and all this stuff. I got called to the house next door. Neighbors. I had a call from the Post-Journal. Wanted to know if I wasn't going to go out and sell extras. Extras for what? Well, he said Pearl Harbor was bombed. You know, where the heck is Pearl Harbor? You know, you didn't keep up on that stuff then. So I went out and sold a few extras. I can remember that.
What was the paper? Was it the Journal or was it?
Post-Journal.
Post-Journal, okay.
So I can remember conscription. The guy next door went. A couple other guys on the street went. Graduated in June, drafted the 1st of August. I was a traveling soldier, I guess you'd call it. Yeah. You know, the government, they always go hog wild on something, you know.
Right.
So we get drafted and were put in Camp Edwards, Massachusetts, anti-aircraft. When I went in, everybody was put in anti-aircraft because when they was fighting in Africa, they didn't have any anti-aircraft. So they decided they needed that. So then they go hog wild, you know. We went up to Camp Edwards, take basic training. That was September, 1st of September. And I was there until the following May. Then we went overseas. And we went to Europe. The ones that didn't go into the infantry, I guess they went to South Pacific as MPs or something, you know. I was in the 253rd and 63rd Division. From Sarreguemines, France, we were going up to the Siegfried line. You know, you'd heard of the Siegfried line in school. You really didn't know what it was. Well, we took the land up to the Dragon Teeth. I remember that. Boy, that if you want to see fireworks, that was it. I don't know why they used tracer bullets there, but they did. But you had all kinds of stuff going off all night. And you'd see those dragon teeth there, and you'd see your tanks come up to them and shoot at them things and phase them.
This is that old Siegfried line.
They had those things built, pyramids like, out of concrete, and they have them staggered, so there's no way you could drive a vehicle through them. In fact, it'd be even hard to walk through them. And then, of course, there was pillboxes built. You couldn't hardly see them. There'd just be a slit in the ground. There's usually on a hill. Mm-hmm. There'd be a slit in the ground. They was all out of reinforced concrete, and then they had planted vegetation on them, so it looked just like the ground.
Pierced the forward band of the Siegfried line along an 11-mile front and penetrated the heavier line of fortifications in 2 places. Now the closest enemy was delayed.
We took it up to the Dragon Teeth, then they pulled us off. I think it was overnight. And when we went back the next morning, they must have gotten dynamite and blew up those dragon teeth so you could go through there. So we went through them dragon teeth. You've never seen so many dead people in your life.
You're breaching through and you see bodies all over the place. What's that do for morale?
You don't have time. You just keep going. You know, the first night when you got over there, you was going in combat. You were taught in this country, if somebody shoots at you, you hit the ground. You get over there, you run like heck. You hit the ground, you're almost done because they got you pinned down. Now you can't get up. Then they send in the artillery shells. Where if you run, they're harder for them to hit you for one thing, but then you don't get so much shelling.
The washing on the Siegfried line. Have you any dirty washing, mother dear? We're going to hang out the washing on the Siegfried line, 'cause the washing day is here.
So you breach the Siegfried line, you're going through there, now what?
Well, you just kept going. And, you know, it's more rural area we were in. You had hills and valleys. Some of them were so steep you had to hold on to the trees to go down them and up the other side. Kept walking. Sometimes you walked all day and all night. Well, you come to a place where maybe you run into a company, and of course, by that time in the war, when we approach, they put up their white flag, you know, surrender. And if you could wipe out the captured SS officer, the rest of them would just quit. Well, we got into this one place where we got into quite a battle. If guy's going to surrender to you, sometimes that SS guy would shoot him before he could surrender to you.
Really?
We went in there, it was one morning, and everything broke loose. And by the time night come, I think out of the whole outfit, there's only 20 of us left. It was quite a battle. You know, it's kind of scary. But things happen so fast, you couldn't think about that. Of course, lots of time you say, hope we get $1 million wound today. Just enough. When we went over, they took our overcoats away from us. So all you had was a field jacket. Well, the reasoning for that was because the Germans always wore an overcoat, long coat. So that was one thing. So you knew if it was getting dark, you had a long coat on. It wasn't a GI.
So the Army has developed the now famous K-Ration. Each item in K had to be super nutritious, but also appetizing. Hardtack, coffee powder, and candy.
You got a little flat box, about like a Cracker Jack box. And in it you'd have a little can, one with cheese. The other one would probably be scrambled eggs in it, you know. something like that. And he had a couple of hard crackers, and it'd be probably 4 or 5 cigarettes. He had a chocolate candy bar in there. It especially made candy bars supposed to have, vitamins in it. I can remember one time, this is after the war is over. We was going someplace. I was assistant squad leader then, so I had the squad and was marching to, we was going to chow. And there's a Jeep sitting there. And looked in the Jeep and there was a whole box of those Hershey bars. So I told the guys, look right when you go past the Jeep. Well, the last guy emptied the box.
Was it a delicacy? I mean, to get a Hershey bar, was that something?
Yeah, it was something you kind of look forward to. I never got hit.
Yeah.
I got pretty close.
Yeah.
About that. You're running and the bullets are hitting the ground next to your feet.
Yeah.
Well, you got pinned down and you got an officer behind you telling you to move.
Yeah.
You go to get up and they're out there watching. You got a machine gun, the bullets would come in. If you stood up, they'd have got you.
Did you get religion that day?
Yeah, you got religion. Yeah. I can remember going and cleaning out foxholes there. Well, at first, you shot them because you couldn't trust them then. So you see the kill or be killed,
Right.
Well, then they started putting up their flags, their white flags. So we was taking quite a few. I can remember I cleaned 4 of them out of one foxhole and sent them back. Well, the guy in the back told me that one of them was a girl. German rifle laid there. Use that. Of course, that was a mistake because you pick that rifle up and you shoot that. It's got a different sound than ours.
Ah.
So we shot that thing a couple of times and all hell broke loose. They started shelling us. Our own troops were shelling us.
Then you got word about VJ Day.
When I was on the ship coming home for that 30 days when, you had 2 guys to a bunk, so one night you slept on the deck. Well, I was sleeping on the deck right under loudspeakers. And they announced VJ Day.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, they all was going yelling and everything else. And I laid there on that deck under that speaker, and it comes on. That's false report, But none of them heard that. And I told them, you're a killjoy,
Yeah.
So next morning, of course, they come out with a little piece of paper, so they knew. So I got discharged. I got let out in the Erie train. If I remember, I got a bus from Erie to Mayville. Now you get in Mayville about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and there you are. There's no traffic. You try to hitchhike, there's no traffic, you know. So about that time, the Buffalo Evening News truck, or I think that's who
Yep.
comes through there in the morning. I don't know why they call it evening news. It must have been morning paper, because the guy says you'll have to ride my route with it. So that was all right. So they took us into the Hotel Jamestown. So now we're going to get a cab. Well, we had to go in the lobby. The taxi driver was sleeping on the couch in there. So we had to go and wake him up, get a ride home. So we got home, it must have been about 6 o'clock in the morning. My brother was home, so I hadn't seen him, of course, in a long time, because he'd gotten discharged in January, I think. I got out in February, 46.
Have your children ever asked you about your experience?
No, I don't think so.